Hi, I'm Professor Leah Ruppanner. As a sociologist, I've made it my life's mission to take down every ridiculous gender myth out there. Like, do pretty people get paid more, or are women better multitaskers? This is MissPerceived.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to MissPerceived. On today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about the mental load at work. Now, I know so far it's been like, what's going on in terms of the mental load? And I've told you from the start that I have a new book coming out next week. So exciting, right? April 21st, Drained, How to Reduce Your Mental Load to Do Less and Be More. And in addition to that, the work I've been doing on that I haven't totally told you yet, because a lot of this has been secret work. I had to wait till the book comes out to tell you everything I'm doing about the mental load. But the other piece of this puzzle is, how do we think about our mental loads to work, right? How do we think about the way in which we combine our work and family? You carry a mental load with you everywhere you go. Now, for those of you who are new, the mental load is the emotional thinking work you do to keep your work, life, and family running. You think about the mental load, you might think about it as just straight cognitive work. But what I want you to understand in my definition that came out of the research that Brendan Churchill at University of Melbourne, Liz Dean at University of Melbourne, and I did in 2021 was we said, hey, wait a minute, this mental load is not just thinking work, it's emotional thinking work. And it's invisible, it's boundaryless, and it's enduring. It goes inside, you carry it with you everywhere, and it is never ending. Now, the boundaryless neat piece of this is helping you understand that, yes, you bring a mental load to work from your life and from your home, but you also bring a mental load from work back into your home, right? Like you're doing it in both directions. Because you can do it anywhere, anytime with nothing. You don't need a computer. You don't need a cell phone. You don't need a pen and paper. You just need your brain. You're carrying it with you all the time. Now, part of the reason why I'm helping you think about the mental load to work is that I have a little website up. It's called LightenLab, like lighten your mental load, like the lab that is here to help you lighten the mental load, LightenLab.com. And on that, we have an assessment. I've taken my mental load types. And again, remember there are 8: life organization, emotional support, relationship hygiene, safety, dream building, individual upkeep, Medicare, magic making, and more. And I'm asking you to start to think about your mental load that you do at home and your mental load you do at work. Everyone carries a mental load. It's just that the composition looks different. And what I found across the research studies is that actually a lot of what the men are carrying, a lot of what the dads are carrying, a lot of what the gender differences in the mental load are, is around the categories and this idea that I'm going to bring work and life together. That dads are thinking a lot about, how do I show up as a good dad? How do I make sure that I'm doing better than my father? How do I know that good isn't good enough, that I'm actually improving on it? I'm emotionally connected with my child. I'm there. I'm present. I'm with my wife as well. And so we have a research article with Sophie Squires, Kate Danger, and Casey Schiebling, where we talk about this mental load logics, like trying to combine them. But dads think a lot about that. And they think about, how do I keep work away from my family life? How do I create boundaries? How do I compartmentalize this? How do I reduce the bleed across? But I'm saying this to you. If you're hearing that and you're a dad in the group and you're thinking a lot about work-life integration and balance and how do I do that, this podcast is for you. You are not immune from carrying the mental load. It's just that the composition might be tilted in a different direction. And what the research I've done to date has shown is that dads are thinking a lot about safety, a lot about the safety of the family. Is everyone okay? Is everyone well? And is everyone safe? But they're also thinking about dreams. They're thinking about their dreams as a way to build the dreams of the family. They're thinking about, how do I invest in myself? How do I invest in my career? And how do I make sure all of that aligns so that my wife, my partner, my child has more? So in investing in myself, I'm investing in you all. What that means is that they didn't feel a sense of guilt or anxiety when they took a break. They didn't feel a sense of guilt or anxiety when they got time off. They didn't feel a sense of guilt and anxiety if they were able to relax on the weekend or got the right to sleep more. And I'm not saying, what I'm saying to you is like, I know a lot of women who are listening are like, yeah, that's so unfair, right? Because here I am keeping everything running behind the scenes while he's out training for a marathon. There needs to be a balance in between. There needs to be a conversation that comes between partners about who has the right to rest, who has a right to leisure, who has a right to relaxation, who has a right to chase their dreams. That is a conversation that needs to happen if it's imbalanced. But what I also heard was a lot of women talking about guilt, anxiety, and shame when they invested in their dreams. It was at the expense of their family, and that they felt terrible when they took that time. That needs to be banished too. And we need to figure out how to get our balance between dreaming, investing, relaxing, and chasing our most ambitious ideas, aspirations aligned. And a lot of the dads didn't have the level of anxiety or guilt around that because they saw that as their connection in to making their family better. Now, that is because of social norms, right? I'm a sociologist. We always use sociology as our superpower. And this is in part because being a good breadwinner is a tied and aligned with investing in myself. I am here. If I'm a man, I'm told from birth, I need to actually make a lot of money. I need to invest in me. I need to do more. And so when you do that, that's a way to show you're a quote unquote good dad. Now, the thing is that everything's changed a little bit, right? So the idea that you can just be aligned in terms of total investment, that's not really how we want men to show up in our lives anymore. And men don't want to show up in our lives like that anymore either. They want to be invested in the emotion of the family. They want to spend time with their kids. They want to do, as one dad said, I want to be connected with how my child feels, what my child wants to do, not just being there and present with them in that moment. They talked about being different dads. So what I want to say to you is, the mental load composition for men and women can look very different. Women will hold a mental load to their work. Men will hold a bigger balance of that mental load to their work too. And part of that is because social norms tell men that when they become caregivers, that their value is in terms of their financial contribution. Their value is their time at work, and their value is in achieving. We tell women they should achieve too, but we also tell them they should be nice. They shouldn't chase their dreams. They should be deferential. They should be community focused, not I focused. They should be thinking about how to take care of others and not just themselves. And what that does is that shifts the way we show up at work. That shifts how we get punished at work, how we can excel at work, what kind of roles we play at work. And we have two very different scripts that men and women are following while at work that makes them feel totally different. And that is something that if we just keep doing it, like it's not really working pretty much for anyone. I mean, you would say to me like, oh yeah, actually maybe it works for men because they make more money and they hold more power. But I'll say to you like, actually men who want to be invested with their kids, men who are experiencing an incredible amount of stress and strain, who have poor health outcomes as a result of being 100% invested in their work, that's not really good for them, right? Like that's not really like on balance. And yes, of course, they might end up with more power and money and resources because we say that's what they should get and that's what they should deserve. But there are costs to that too. There are costs to their personal life, to their time, to their health for being 100% work focused. And I will say to you, the research is crystal clear that of course, women have a different script they play at work, a different script about how to show up, how to be in the group, when to step up, when to step out, how to show their ambition, how to engage in conflict and disagreement. And that has a disadvantage for them as well. They are walking a tightrope around that too, to figure out how do they show up at work and the disadvantage of that. And we tell them at home, you know, they are the preferred caregiver. No one's love is as good as a mother's love, that women are inherently nurturing. And all that does is set them up for a script that if unexamined, they might not want to follow. What I want to connect for you is that all of this, and I mean all of it, is draining your mental load. All of it is carried in your brain. All of it, those scripts, the way you show up, how you think about your job is coming through your mental load, and it's taking a bite out of your mental load energy. It's taking a bite out of your mental load capacity, and you only have a limited amount. One of the things we're doing on the LightenLab website is we've done the work, right? I've done the research. I've taken all of the research I've done, both in terms of the book, in terms of how do we understand the mental load as its 8 distinct types. How do we then understand how people carry a mental load to work? I looked at thousands of people conducted a survey with thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world and see what happens. What are the big drains for you in terms of your work and your life, and how do they come together to take a bite out of your mental load? Now, if you're curious, there isn't an assessment. I don't want your email address. I'm not going to be calling you. I'm not going to be contacting you unless you contact me first. And then, of course, I want to hear from you. And of course, I'll email you back. But what we're asking you to do is start to go in and think about like my mental load today, my mental load in the morning, my mental load will look different across my life. And my mental load right now to my work, family, and life will look very, very different than it will by the end of the day, than it will on a Monday compared to a Friday, than it will, at the start of the year compared to the end of the year, that it's going to fluctuate and ebb and flow. It's going to shift, change, and move. And so one of the things we ask you to do is to start taking an assessment of this, to start getting a handle on what is your baseline and how is it shifting? What does it look like for you in the morning? What does it look like for you in the evening? And start to get a kind of a handle, much like you might on your blood pressure, much like you might on your steps, much like you might on your sleep score, is try to get that assessment. And one of the things that is clear is that there's these kind of typologies that are coming out. There are these typologies of people that I'm curious if they resonate with you. So as you go through and you figure out, because at the end, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you like a little like, here's your type, and here's where your mental load is high, and here's what's draining it, and here's why, and here's how to handle it. But some of the things that have really like shown up for people that I feel like are connective is this idea of like, maybe your mental load right now is being spent around being a high achiever. Maybe your mental load is tied to this idea of like, how do I show up at work and make sure I'm not letting anyone down? And how do I show up at home and make sure I'm not letting anyone down? And so a lot of people are finding this high achiever type where you're like spending your mental load energy thinking about, am I doing a good job at work? Am I showing up for my boss? Is anyone mad at me? How's my team going? Am I achieving my dreams? Is anyone unhappy with me at home? These kinds of thoughts that might be going on. Where do I want to be? Am I achieving my goals? This is a mental load to work and life that is coming together, that is draining your capacity. Another one is caretaker. Like, are you the caretaker type? Like, are you the person who is constantly thinking about, is everyone okay at home? And is everyone okay at work? And is everyone okay in your friend group? And are you doing the energy to check in with them? This is again a mental load drain. It's a way in which you are thinking about the emotional thinking work of like, oh, weird. I sent that email, but no one at my office replied to me. Are they mad at me? Are they going to fire me? Are people upset with me? Are they busy? Do I need to do anything? Wait, have I actually done my work? Is it okay? Is it good? Is it quality? Is my boss unhappy? Am I primed for the promotion? This is where you're doing a mental load where one thing starts to become everything. And you're doing this emotional thinking work around, your dream building. What does this mean? Am I going to get the promotion? I don't know, but I have a lot of bills to pay. Am I going to be able to make enough money? You can see how this is hitting on all those mental load types, where it might be something about life organization, right? Like, have I responded to that email yet? And have people received it? And how are they receiving it? Can turn into something like emotional support. Is that person unhappy? Should I reach out and see if they're okay? What about my career? Am I in trouble? This is all moving between those 8 different types of mental load. You're almost like ping-ponging between them in like a second. Like one thought becomes 18, and then you've spent 35 seconds moving through 8 different mental load types for your work, life, and family, and also elevating your stress level. What I want to ask of you is, as you start to think this through, how do you break that pattern? How do you decide when that thinking is useful? How do you identify your type or your fluctuation or your mode? And then how do you figure out, is that what you want to be? Are you giving the right amount of energy to the core people in your lives? Or do you need to take a reset? I have a mental load audit where you get to do this. Do you need to take a reset? Do you need to take a step back and figure out, whoa, I have way too much mental load energy going to way too many people around things that honestly, I don't fucking care about. And so this is the work I'm asking you to do. I have like 3 toolkits for you to do this work. One is listen to the podcast. Congratulations, gold star. You've just done it. I'm trying to help you understand these ideas. You're welcome. 2, go to the LightenLab website where you can actually do a free assessment. You can see what's going on. You can see the 8 different mental load types. I'll give you like a little video where I talk to you like, hey girl, hey guy, here's what I need you to think about. And so I'll give you a little bit of a understanding of your own type. And then 3rd is my book, right? The book is there with the mental load audit in it. It's in it. It's describing it. It's helping you to do actually that kind of step-by-step work of figuring out, where's my mental load going? Is it going where I want it to go? And is it aligned with my dreams? And then eventually you're going to be able to cut, call, and kind of break the pattern. Like brain scientists, which I'm not, talk a lot about like you start to create a loop in your brain. And here's the beautiful thing about your brain. It gets faster and quicker. And so if you find that your loops are going speedily, it's probably because you've spent too much time wearing out the grooves. So let's start to break that. Let's start to slow down the thinking. Let's start to put in a stop sign, and maybe then demolish the road. And let's see what happens if you stop thinking about those things that actually don't matter to you, aren't aligned with your core people, aren't aligned with your dreams and ambitions, are actually just total drains. What happens then? And let's start making some new paths in your brain towards the things that you really, really care about, you're excited about, that are going to create the life you want. The problem is that some of these gaps are gendered, that sometimes women have created certain loops that really need to be shared with men. And men, if you're listening to this, she cares just as much about her career and her ambitions and her goals and her dreams as you do. We just socialized her into thinking that actually that's less important. And the truth is, you care a lot more about your family and your life than we've socialized you into believing. And that's an absolute disadvantage for all of us. What we need is you in the home, you with us caring, and us in the workplace doing the same. And we need a more equal balance or a more strategic balance. We might end up in exactly the same spot, but I want us there by strategic decision, by negotiation. And then let's see what kind of world we live in. Okay, y'all, I'm done. As for always, thank you for listening to MissPerceived, where you do not need a PhD. Don't do it. You just get to come hang out with me and like, subscribe, listen, fall in love with me on all of the socials. I am here. We have Lou is doing some great social media for us. And I think you're going to love the LightenLab socials. They're beautiful. It's beyond my capacity. This is not my skill set, but there are such talented people in the world doing such wonderful and creative things. And I have had the gift of getting to work with and absorbing their knowledge. So come admire it all with me. And then don't give me the credit. Give it to everyone else, because that's all happening through them. Okay, give me the credit. I'll take it. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you next week, and I love you. Mwah.
We are so lucky and grateful that this series is being supported by the Melbourne Public Humanities Initiative at the University of Melbourne.